What's up, guys? This is WoT the Fell-Handed here, and welcome to another edition of MapQuest. This is Live Oak Standard Battle in the Bad Chat 25T French Tier 10 medium tank. Now, what I personally like to do in the Bad Chat, in a medium in general, is go down the tracks. That's where the action is for the mediums. Now, of course, you can go to the city, and that's fine. The only downside is it's very confined quarters and a lot of hand-to-hand combat, if you will. You can also go mid, right there around, C5, C6. Spot some guys up on the hill. I like spotting, but I also like to do damage. I always try to get a blend, a hybrid, if you will, of those two items. And of course, that's what we're going for right now. I always like to go out on the end of this little island here. You have to be very cautious because with the new modification they've made to the map right around J7, right through there is like a nice little hull down dip of an area, so the Reds can just push up almost to your front door without really exposing anything. So you have to be very cautious of that. Right here is a perfect place to do some firing. I have good LOS on everything in that section. If they poke up, I will be able to fire on them. Of course, bad chat accuracy, I may not be able to connect with them or pin them, but you know what? What are you going to do? That's the best you could do as far as that. All you can do is shoot at them. So right now, they're moving around there. They're just trying to kind of get a foothold, try to see what's going on, see exactly who is over on our side. They're not 100%. Some of the fellas there, some of the guys are moving up. We put a round down range right there, connected with it, and then he ducked down behind the hill there. A wise decision, at the very least. There's always shooters on that hill, most often, and a lot of your heavier TDs are going to post up behind that. So you have to be cautious. You have to be very wary of where everyone is going to set up. Put a round in him there, put a round in his track, and then we're going to go ahead and put another one in him, and then of course the last one misses. If you'll notice, the first round I fired, I tried to hit the tracks and I ended up damaging him instead. Either way, a pin is a pin. Granted, I would have loved to have him tracked up there where I could continually pump rounds into him. He did me a favor by pulling up and not moving around a lot. And, if somebody's out on their lonesome, go for the first round. See if you can't put it in his track. He's either going to go through his kit or he's going to be in trouble and remain tracked. And it only takes a handful of seconds for you to empty a clip into him. So you have to use, you really have to sit back and say, hey, how can I use this tank to my full advantage? What can I do? What all can I do to get the most out of this tank? And like right now, if you were in another tank doing this maneuver, may not be the best thing in the world because I just rushed numerous heavies, what have you. I took a pin. Granted, of course, that was unavoidable. It was gonna happen, but we took out a few big heavies, a large piece of the puzzle. And when the other tank is engaged like that, you just drive off, because you know what? That guy has other stuff to worry about than me. Like, for example, the tank he's face-hugging, the direct threat. So most of the time, you come down there, you clip a few guys out, and you leave. You're not going to get shot because the other guy that you left alive is going to be fighting the immediate threat. Because, you're not a threat for the next 40 seconds. Every now and again, you'll get a guy who says, you know what, I'm going to die, let me put one round in this easy-to-pin target, and that's fine. So, right now, we're going to move up on artillery here. We've kind of got eyes on artillery. Somehow I shoot through the fence or whatever. It was a pretty impressive shot, never happened again. And we've got some targets out here. E100 way out. We're going to just try to hit him in his lower plate. End up pulling a track. And at this range, you're going to have that dispersion is just really going to troll you. The gun ends up trolling on both ends. As you could see, you know, he was even going so far as to blind fire because he has no idea where we're at. And, you know, you're going to get that occasionally. Another thing you're going to get on a bad chat is someone pulling up next to you or behind you, unbeknownst to you, because you're going to be in the sniper scope, and then you taking rounds for somebody else because they're detected and you're not detected, but they have to shoot through you to get to them, so you're getting shot. That happens more often than you would actually think. Now, at this point, I'm kind of heading out back towards our cap, as our assault on their cap has more or less completely faltered. I'm going to try to go ahead and farm some damage off of this moss. They are excellent for that. IS-4 as well. Very easy to pin if you get at the right angle. And you can just kind of stack up damage on them. So, you know, we pulled some extra pins there that we would not have normally had. You know, when they start turning is when you're going to start bouncing. But if you've got a good 90, really it doesn't matter what direction you are at, you're going to pin more or less. Because you know what? Tier 10 mediums run APCR as standard, and this is the only tier where your APCR does not lose penetration over distance. FYI. So right now we have excellent shots on a E100. He's a considerable distance away. We're doing a little bit of a leading here. We're putting some rounds in him. I don't really know what happened to that second round. It just kind of fizzled out underneath his tracks. At any rate, we just went ahead and emptied the rest of the clip into him. We are reloading now. If you've watched any of my other videos, as soon as you clip someone out, it's always a good idea to reload. There is a lot of enemy team left, and I don't have that many shells. Never a good thing. The ammunition capacity on the bat chat is 30 rounds. In these extended engagements where, you know, the teams are just doing just right, or just poorly enough, I should say, you're going to have these games where you're going to get very, very close on rounds. It's going to be a very dicey situation whether or not you're going to have enough to get the job done. And that's fine. You know, you can be useful in other ways other than shooting enemies. Obviously, you can spot, so on and so forth. Anyway, you know, and surprise factor of this tank. This tank has an enormous surprise factor. Most people just it kind of catches them off guard when they just see a bat chat just roll around a corner. And in addition to that, it has an enormous fear factor. So you kind of have to use both of those together. People are terrified of this tank, especially mid to late game. Early on in the game, not really, because this tank's really going to only affect you if you've made a grievous error. If you've pushed up too far and you get 1 or 2 bat chats rolling you, yes, you are in trouble. But for the most part, you know, mid to late game, you're by your lonesome, this tank comes in on you, you're in trouble. So we're going to go ahead and put another round in here, finish this. Hirsch right here, he's off the board. We have just a handful of rounds. We're going to go ahead and dump the mag. You know, might as well put the last remaining few rounds in there. And let's see if we can't do just a little bit more damage before we go out. There's 2 reds left. And, you know, we're just going to go over here and see what we can get going on. They're over by the tracks. And so now it kind of makes a little bit more sense on, you know, the reload not affecting the bat chat as much as one would think, because you're normally driving a large area at a given time. You're flanking, you're repositioning, you're falling back, so on and so forth. So the reload doesn't really come into effect that much. It's different on your Waffenträger E100 because you're just sitting there for 60 seconds while you're waiting on a reload. So you're kind of at the mercy of the gun. Here you have speed to help you out. Now we do have a full health, or nearly full health. tank here, which is going to be an issue. There's two of them, and you know, situations like this, you just want to post up and wait for your backup to arrive. You don't need to drive over there and try to win the day. You need to play it safe. You need to play it smart. You need to wait on your people to show up, so then, you know, when the guy fires or he's half health, then you can come over and start running the gun on him. So you just have to play it smart, and you have to play it cautious, but you also have to be patient in order to run it fully. Now, granted, of course, if this guy would have charged me, I would have put some rounds in him. Now, of course, he doesn't know I have 3 rounds. He thinks I have 5, and that's fine. That is, you know, no problem with that. Moving on. So, the other guy here is engaged, and I came over to help my man out here. He went ahead and took care of him. So, we're fine there. But we're going to pull this hill, and there's one little old guy left. He's in trouble. He knows he's in trouble. I'm going to try to put the last 3 rounds of my gun in. And I would have been over there with him had I not come over here to help the teammate here, the platoon mate. So I'm just going to come up here, just go ahead and finish him off. And you know, in situations like this, you just want to try to get all your damage in you can. You know, not aiming it in. You've got to aim it in. Got a FADS medal there, by the way, so that kind of worked out for me. I would always recommend aiming in Russian tanks, even if you're at a 90. They're extremely tricky. 6550, guys. Thank you for watching another episode of MapQuest. Please remember to like, subscribe, and share. We'll see you guys next time.
I'ma catch this motherfucker slipping, 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 slipping.